Okay, well, thank you for joining me again, for taking time out of your busy schedules. Today we're going to be talking about listings. So for the past, I don't know how many weeks, we've been talking about your business systems getting set up. With listings, it's a system as well, but we're going to talk about everything from prior to the listing appointment, at the listing appointment, and how to service it afterwards. Hopefully I can give you guys some new ideas that can make you feel a little bit better about the service that you provide for your clients. As always, questions, comments, feedback, success stories, please email me at brokerericlee@gmail.com. And if you'd like to revisit this information later on, then you can go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in Elite Agent Training, all as one word, and you can subscribe there. And today, if you've been to this training before, I'm going to show you a few different things than what we've done in the past. I try to constantly upgrade things as new information comes out. So, all right, our homework from last week. We were talking about acting like a professional, creating our ideal work week list, getting a calendar guide. Hopefully you've done that. You're starting to develop these habits that will absolutely change your business in real estate. Schedule 15 minutes each morning to plan your day out, and at the end of the day, do an evaluation of yourself. I would hope that you would continue doing this through all the other series that we have, and hopefully for the rest of your career, because it really does make a difference for you. All right, today's deep thought, and I don't know who this comes from, but you guys have heard it before. A person doesn't care how much you know until they know how much you care. The reason why I put this in listings is because I think that one of the greatest sins that listing agents make is they put such a focus on their listing presentation that they forget the people that they're talking to. And so I go into listing presentations and I'll see in front of me a full color bound spiral presentation from another broker. I mean, it's beautiful. It probably cost them $25 to put that puppy together. And it looks really nice, and yet that agent didn't get hired. And at the start of my business, when I was broke, I would print everything off in black and white, paper clip it or staple it together, and that's what I went out with. And most of the time, I could get them to sign with me. So I'm following somebody that spent $25. I spent maybe 15 cents. And yet I'm winning the listing. Nowadays, it's even simpler. I usually will print out 1 or 2 pages and take it with me. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about kind of the science behind working with people, what they want, and how we can best serve them. So some of the resources available, listing presentation. On Elevate, you've got a sample listing presentation there. I would encourage you not to just take that and copy it and just start using it. Get in there, make it your own. If there's slides that you don't like, then remove them. If there's other things you'd like to add, then do so. But you've got to personalize this, and the people have to feel like it's coming from you, all right? So you do have a full listing presentation that's done for you, ready for you to customize, and that's on Elevate. Seller's binders. If you like paperwork, and you like to have like things in hand, go out and get a little 1/2-inch 3-ring binder from Walmart. They're super cheap, like $1. You can reuse them over and over, and you can keep all your stuff organized. And I would get little tab dividers and stuff for those as well. That's for the old school folks. What I don't like to see is somebody that shows up with one of those free folders from the title company. It's like a manila folder with just 100 pages jumbled in there. That looks very unprofessional. It doesn't look like you know what you're doing, okay? So if you want to go paperless, then of course we've provided you with .loop, and for the most part you can be paperless with that. I don't go completely paperless when it comes to contracts. I personally prefer to see the whole page. I don't like electronic stuff where maybe I'm jumping around and not seeing everything. So I provide that courtesy to my clients. If I'm going out to meet with a seller, I'm going to print out paper copies of things for them, an exclusive right to sell. the seller's disclosures, that kind of stuff. And we'll sign that stuff in person, then I'll scan it in and send them a copy. And from that point on, I'm pretty much paperless. All right, you've got a 24/7 hotline, whether that's the Mobility RE system or the ProAgent website system that we're migrating towards. You have those resources. Make sure you understand those and how to use those. If you don't have your ProAgent website set up, I would recommend getting that set up, because a lot of our resources push things to there. And if you're not using it, then you've got leads that you're missing out on. All right, let's talk about what to do prior to the listing appointment. We want to be prepared. When we go into their house, we want to be the expert on their home. So first of all, we're going to talk to the client, prospective client at this point, and ask them information about their house. And they're going to tell us it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and they're not quite sure the year that it was built. They think it was the year 2000. They have no idea the tax ID number. I don't even ask that of them anymore. So they're not quite sure on their lot size either. So there's some question marks, but you're going to talk to them about their house, and most of the time they're not totally sure about some of the details. But we want to find out as much as we can, and we want to find out what they believe about their house, because they might tell us they're 0.36 acres and they're 0.32 or something like that. They might tell us they have a 4-bedroom house, and we get out there and we find that it's a 3-bedroom house, and the last bedroom doesn't have a closet. It could be a den, it could be a storage room, and yeah, they've stuck one of their kids in there, so they're using it as a bedroom, but technically we can't call it that. But we do want to know what they think their house has. All right, so we're going to talk to them, get detailed information about their house. Next, we're going to jump on the MLS. And in the past, I've shown you guys how to do this. I'm not going to do that today because I want to show you some other things. So basically, when you get on the MLS, keep your search vague. You know their house number, so I'll usually put in their house number and the county. And then I don't care if it's sold, active, under contract. I clear all of that stuff. I just put the house number and the county. And usually with a search like that, I can find maybe there'll be like 40 listings come up, and that's very easy for me to sort through. And I'll find 4 or 5 with their house on it because it used to be active. Maybe it's been sold several times. By the way, you'll want to include the checkbox that includes historical data so that it goes back more than a year. But if it's ever been listed before and you're searching the MLS history for that house, there's quite often you can find a lot of great information on it, which makes the listing process eventually become much easier. All right, another thing we want to do is check with the title company. The last couple of weeks, we've talked about some nightmare scenarios that realtors find themselves in. This is one of them. If you remember, you go out and you start working with somebody. We actually had a couple scenarios like this. It could be a divorce scenario where we're meeting with one person that we think they're the owner. There's no sign of anybody else, but the ex-husband's still on title, and we're going to have to deal with that. We should know that before we actually go out and meet with them. Sometimes it's grown children living in their parents' home, and they've grown up and got married, but it's not their house. And I've had grown children try to sell a home, sign a listing agreement with an agent, and it's not their house to sell. That's the kind of stuff you want to know in advance. Also, from the title report, you can get the accurate information that sometimes sellers are fuzzy on. What is the exact size of their yard? What is their tax ID number, etc. Okay, and you can get their official names. I've got a client right now who goes by Mike. His real name's Herman. Michael's his middle name, but he goes by Mike. His wife goes by Sally, and her real name is Sarah. There's no Sally at all in there. So if I'm looking for Mike and Sally, or I put that on contracts or something, that's not going to be very good. I need to get their real names in there. So checking the title report, that can help you out. All of this stuff is very simple. A phone conversation gives me detailed information. 5 minutes on the MLS gives me a lot of information there. Title report is a simple request to the title company, and usually in 15 minutes they can get me a brief report with that information I mentioned to you. It's not a full title search. It's just a little brief report with that information. So within really a half hour, I can have all of this stuff done. Now I want to start working on my CMA, my comparative market analysis. Now, I've got some ingredients that go into this. We're going to do a marketing plan. And at the end of today's training, I'll give you some different ideas that might help you beef up your marketing plan so that you feel like it's worthy of putting on paper. Because a lot of agents, honestly, their marketing plan is, I'm going to put it on the MLS, I'm going to put a sign in your yard, then I'm going to pray, then I'm going to feel guilty because I don't know what else I'm supposed to do, okay? That's a hard one to put on paper and tell people that this is my plan for your house. So I'm going to give you some ideas today that can hopefully help beef up your presentation. A market analysis explanation, just helping people understand. I have agents come to me all the time saying, I can't get these clients to see reason. They keep comparing me to this house across the street, and it's not the same size or style of theirs. It's not even close to the same year. We need to help educate them up front. This is what we can use in our market analysis. We have to use comparable properties. And then we're going to have a page or two about their subject property, and that's going to include the information that we got from them, the information we got from title company and any previous MLS listings, and some comparable properties. And by the way, most of this information is already prepared for you and ready to go in the presentation on the Elevate site, okay? So you don't have to recreate all of this. That's not why I'm going into every slide here to show you what I do, because it's mostly done for you. The marketing plan, you'll need to work on that. And the comps that you print out, of course, that will be something that you'll take with you. All right, market activity, pricing pyramid, and consequences of overpricing. Those are all different graphs that we have in that presentation, just different ways to help you convince the client to list their home at the right price the first time. Then a price recommendation. Now, let me be clear about this, how we handle this price recommendation. I'm going to show up at a house having checked all the comparable properties. I'm going to have some pretty reliable information from the client, the MLS, and the title report. So I'm going to show up with a price recommendation already printed out on paper. But as you guys know, sometimes you walk into a house and you're surprised, right? Sometimes it's a negative surprise, sometimes it's a positive surprise. You know, maybe they've had a professional landscaper. They've got granite countertops, and maybe this house just sings to you. It's beautiful. Well, your comps might need to be adjusted. I have no problem having a price recommendation written down and telling them this is the average price. Your home is nicer than this, so we need to actually list it for higher. However, if you walk in and you're negatively surprised, holes in the walls, dog feces laying all around the house, we've seen it all, then you should have no problem being honest with your client. That's your fiduciary duty, saying this is the average price for homes. Your home has some challenges that are going to be difficult to overcome, so we need to actually offer it for less than this price. So yeah, you might have a price recommendation printed down. Do not be afraid to alter that recommendation on the spot, okay? You're the agent. You got to tell them the truth. Do what's in their best interest, and it isn't to tell them a fib that they're going to get an average price when their home isn't average, okay? And then listing options. We'll talk about some different options that you can use that make your closings, in my opinion, a little bit easier, okay? So in your listing presentation, some of the things, and again, most of these are ready for you. You'll probably want to add a short introduction for you and the company. Explain the comps. We've talked about that, your pricing options, and have some time to resolve concerns, okay? So all of this is done prior to your appointment. Now, let's talk about how much time this really takes. We already said for steps 1 through 3, we're maybe 30 minutes, and 15 of that is waiting around for the title company. So actual work, 15 minutes maybe, okay, for steps 1, 2, 3. Preparing our listing presentation, I'll be honest with you guys, I took the equity presentation, I kept maybe half of it, and I made it my own. I customized it, made it something that I love to use, and I've saved that on my iPad. I don't ever have to prepare a listing presentation, okay? I've got my I've got my program all laid out right there. The only thing that's left for me is to prepare my market analysis. And so that will take me another 15 minutes where I get on the MLS and I do a search to find some comparable properties. Now, when I'm doing this, I've considered doing a whole class on this, but I never have because I'm not sure that it has an hour's worth of material. And there's different MLS systems that we use around the country, so I'm not sure how beneficial it would be for people following a different MLS program. But when I do my CMA, I don't like to pretend that I'm an appraiser. And let me clarify that. A lot of agents feel this pressure. We've seen appraisals before. They use 3 comps and they tell you exactly what the price is. Guys, first of all, that's not even what an appraiser does, okay? 9 times out of 10, an appraiser is simply trying to justify the price that he already sees in front of him. So he has a purchase contract in front of him, or he's got a refinance request from the bank, and he's supposed to see if he can justify that value. That's why, miraculously, most of our appraisals come in within $1,000 of purchase price, sometimes right on purchase price. And you think, wow, that's magic. No, it isn't. It's because most appraisers, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to see if they can justify that price. Now, there's 40 different prices they could justify. And if you pull comps, I've seen price ranges $100,000 spread. And they're all good comps. You know, they're within a mile of the house. They're all the same age, you know, plus or minus 5 years, about the same size. But one was a meth house, and it was completely destroyed. And so it's going for super cheap, because who would live there? You know, it's got to be an investor that picks it up with cash to try to do something with it. And then there's that home that was decked out completely, got all the upgrades, cared for super nice. So you'll have a $100,000 spread in legitimate comps. How do you pick as an agent and tell your client exactly what their home is going to sell for? And my answer to you is you shouldn't have to. Okay? That's not a burden that you should feel like you have to carry. What you need to do is you need to educate yourself and then find a way to simplify that information and educate the client. Okay? So I might be looking at 40 comps. I'm going to narrow that down to maybe 9. And I'm going to pick 3 low ones just in case I walk in the house and it's a dump. I'm going to pick 3 of the highest end ones, and I'm going to pick 3 middle ones. All right? And I'm going to go to the house together with, armed with knowledge of the whole spread of what this could be. And when we get to the pricing stage, we're going to have an honest, frank conversation. I'm going to say, here's what the nicest homes have. Let's look at the comments. Granite, hardwood floors, all these upgrades. Your home's beautiful, but it doesn't have that. So let's look at the middle range. Yep, has exactly what your home has, so we need to price it here. And then we've got these ones that have been trashed. Okay? So this is the price range we should be in. And then we talk price together. So for me, I don't have that pressure that I have to come in and somehow magically hit a number, because that's not even a pressure that actual appraisals have to deal with. Okay? So don't take that burden on yourself. All right. At the listing appointment, here's the one takeaway that you have to learn from this training today, and that is you can't go over an hour. All right? Our goal is very simple. When we, you know what, I'm going to back up. Prior to the listing appointment, I'm not going to give out information over the phone. All right? I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to get information about their house. If they say, well, what do you think we could sell it for? I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to need to come over and see your home. I am not giving away milk for free. You've heard the saying, right? If you give the milk away for free, nobody's going to buy the cow. So I don't give that away. Plus, it's a disservice. How can I tell them what their home is worth when I haven't seen it? Because there is a spread of $100,000 in this neighborhood. So prior to the listing appointment, I've got one goal and one goal only, and that is to get a listing appointment. So I'm going to get this information together, and I'm going to go to my appointment, and we're going to have a discussion with them. At the listing appointment, I've got one goal, and one goal only, and that is to walk out the door with a signed exclusive right to sell contract. I don't want to follow up with them a million times. I don't want to play phone tag with them. I don't want to worry if they're dodging my phone calls. Maybe they found somebody else. You will get all of those things if you take more than an hour at your listing appointment. Okay? People are busy, and that busyness doesn't include you typically. And so now that you're coming, they're extra busy. They have things like dinner because they've just gotten home from work. They've got a bunch of kids they need to get taken care of. Maybe they've got their favorite TV show that they need to watch. Maybe they just want to take a nap. Maybe they've got yard work they need to do. None of this includes you. And the more time you take, the more those other things start to shout at them and drown you out. And we've all been in meetings that have gone over their scheduled time, and people start looking at their clocks. In fact, if I today went 70 minutes, I bet 60 to 80, probably 80% of you would log out before I was done if I went 10 minutes over. So remember that. Remember that people don't like you to take all their time. My first listing appointment was with a neighbor, friends of mine. We had done barbecues together. Our families got along well. They liked me. I spent 2.5 hours at their home, and they listed with somebody else. And they didn't say they didn't like me. They were saying, they were dropping hints like mad, saying, get the heck out of our house. We got other things to do. But what they actually said was, you know what? Sounds great. We'll give you a phone call. Okay? That's what they say when you haven't won their hearts. So in an hour, we have to do certain things. Greet and meet the family. Let's say that takes 5 minutes. They're going to say, all right, where do we need to do this? Kitchen table. And you can peek in, and maybe the kitchen table's covered with dishes. I don't make them clean up and do their dishes for me to sit down because I'm prepared. You either have a clipboard, you have a presentation on your iPad, whatever. You're ready to go. So you can say, you know what, we can sit right here in the living room. However, this is where you want to take charge right here. See, they're looking for somebody to take charge. They don't know this process. That's why you're there in the first place. They want a leader. They don't want somebody bossy, but they want a leader. So at this point you say, however, would you mind taking me on a tour of your home first? I am constantly surprised about how many agents go out on a listing appointment, tell somebody what their home is worth, and they haven't walked through and seen the home. That is offensive to people, by the way. They do not like that at all. So as soon as we greet and meet the family, they ask, where do we need to sit to do this? I'm going to say, you know what? Let me set my stuff down. Would you mind taking me on a tour? I'm going to walk through with a clipboard, something that I can take notes on. If you're going with an iPad, then I use the notes function on the iPad. Okay? And we walk through the home, and I'm going to kill 3 birds with 1 stone here. Number 1, I'm taking notes for my remarks section later on. When I post this on the MLS, I've got 255 character spaces to say charming bungalow with spacious living place, blah, 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 okay, that kind of stuff. I want to make notes on the things that really stand out to me so that I can do this justice when I get back to my office. Another thing that I want to do is introduce the fixture concept as we walk around and take notes on what's included and excluded. Are you including the fridge? Are you including the washer and dryer? What about the blinds? That kind of stuff, okay? Those are all things, by the way, that I'm going to need later on when I fill out the MLS data input form. And then lastly, we've mentioned this, you have to do this before you talk price with them. If you sit down and tell them what their home's worth and you haven't walked through it, they're offended by you. You don't care about them. So that's part of that from our original quote. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you don't care enough to walk through the house, you're not getting hired. And then we've got our listing presentation. So meet and greet the family, 10, 15 minutes to walk through the home, 40-minute presentation, and then we've got to close, get our form signed, and leave. Now, if they close and sign my paperwork, my goal is accomplished. If they want me to stick around longer and take photos, there's a lot of times I'll take my camera with me and I've got it ready to go. Most of the time, they're not ready for that, and we'll schedule a separate time for a photo shoot. But if they have questions or something, again, if I've accomplished my goal and gotten the contract signed, I can stay if they want me to. But otherwise, I'm out of there. All right? And this is a key to not having that follow-up game that turns into such a nightmare. All right. We've reviewed the listing presentation, and we've got to close them somehow. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hate, and I can't emphasize that enough, despise maybe is a better word, pushy salesman. I do not like it. My dad drives into a used car lot. He will not roll his window down. They come out and they bang on his window. Hey, what are you looking for? He won't roll it down. People hate pushy salesmen, and I can't tell you how many times I've been on a real estate training or, there's a speaker on stage talking about these pushy sales tactics, and it puts people down and it makes them feel stupid. And the realtors in the room are like, oh, yeah, that's funny. We run into stupid people all the time. That's so funny. I should use that. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't make people feel stupid. Yeah, it's funny in a room with realtors because we know that there are some people out there that just don't get it. But it is not funny to treat somebody like they're stupid. Okay, the fact that they're trying to save money and have considered being a for sale by owner, that does not make them stupid. It might make them uneducated about the process of being a for sale by owner and the aches and pains that are going to come with that, but they're not stupid because of that. So I would highly encourage you, don't treat people like that. Okay, they need to know that you care about them. So my closing technique I adapted due to my own inability to be a pushy salesman. Can't stand it, and I won't do it. But I do leave probably 95% of my listings with a signed exclusive right to sell contract. Here's how I do it. I give them a couple of different options so they can work with me. This is one that I've used in the past. I'm not telling you that you should discount if you don't want to. I'm telling you be a little bit creative with your business and how you approach things, all right? So this is one that I used in the past, and I had great success with it. I've modified it a little bit today, but this is an example I'm going to share with you. I would get to my end of my listing presentation. I would say, all right, I've got 3 different options for pricing, because I know this is one of your big questions is how much is this going to cost me? So I've got 3 different options. 7% is my deluxe service. This is the one where I spoil you. I take care of all of these things that we've talked about, plus I provide local moving services. And since you're just moving to this next door county, this would be something that maybe you guys would consider. Moving is one of the most painful parts of selling your home, and I can take that pain away almost completely. I mean, you still got to box stuff up and stuff, but professional movers will come in for you. And to do this, I had an agreement with a local moving company for a certain radius of, however many miles, that they would charge me a flat fee. And with my extra 1% commission, I knew if I could offer that and cover that flat fee completely or not. And so I would offer this service. Next, 6% standard. This is what most realtors charge. I do this, but I do a lot more services than most realtors, as I've demonstrated in my marketing plan. So you're going to get a premium service for a standard price. Next, I have a deal that some people really like. If you're moving locally, as you are, to this neighboring county, if you'll sign an exclusive buyer-broker agreement with me, that allows me to represent you on the buy side as well. So we'll get your home sold here, and then I'll help you buy another home. When you buy that other home, as you've learned tonight, it won't cost you anything to have a buyer's agent. Okay? So I could actually give you a discount on the sale of your home. That puts more money in your pocket. And for me, the plus side is I get 2 clients instead of 1. I get you here on the sell and on the buy side. Which one of these plans fits your needs the best? And that was my closing right there. And it's not, do you like me? Feel like, who is it, Anna and Elsa? you know, standing outside the door, asking her to come out and play, you know, this pleading tone in my voice. I've done closings like that. So what do you think? Do you like me? That's so miserable. Couldn't stand that. At the same time, I don't want to say, so if you're ready to go, I'll just sign this paperwork right here, you know, because that's pushy. So I do something like this, and I love it. And people look at each other, and then they come back and they say, well, actually, we are moving locally, but we would love that moving service. Could we kind of get the moving service for 5%? Well, I can give you that for 6%. Because I do need to pay the movers. So a standard service, I'll give you the luxury service for the standard fee. Okay, so you could combine these types of things, and you know, whatever you want to do. Now again, I'm not encouraging you to discount your services, but for me, I take a buyer-broker agreement with me on my listing appointment. And when I leave, most of the time, I've got the listing signed and I've got the buyer-broker agreement signed. And if I need to discount just a little bit for that, then that's fine. I'm willing to do that, and that's just me. And honestly, most of the time I don't have to offer that. I could sell the 6% and still get it. That's up to you, okay, on how you build your business. And that's one of the things I love about equity is that we give you that freedom. You know, tailor it however you like. I just wanted to share with you one of the plans that I've used in the past and how it worked for me. And I love being able to close that way. Here's my 3 different plans. Which one works best for you? And they talk to each other and they say, well, we really kind of like this one. All right, great. Here's what we need to do. And we can sign the paperwork right then. Works really, really smoothly. All right. So we've done our closing. Now we're going to talk price. And I do this because once they choose me, they need to choose me not because of the price. That's part of my education that I'm going to be doing in the listing appointment. It's one of the reasons why I have 3 high comps, 3 middle comps, and 3 low comps that I'm going to take with me, because I don't want them to choose me based on which set of comps we're using. Because there are agents that will go out there and they'll pick the 3 low comps on purpose. And no, they're not the amateur agents. These are the experienced ones. And they purposefully lower price homes. We guarantee a sell in 60 days or less. Yeah, because you've priced it 10% below market value. Okay? They have their own agenda. I don't like that. I don't think that's your fiduciary duty, to have your own agenda and tell somebody that their home is worth less than it is so that you can make a quick commission. You know, that's great for you. It's under contract. And granted, today's market's kind of an exception. But, you know, typically, if it's on the market for a month and they made $10,000 more, that's probably what they would prefer. But I want to educate them that the choice of which agent to hire should not be based on price. They can ask whatever price they want. I'm going to help them to ask for the right price, but they need to choose me because I provide the best service. And this is another part of giving the milk away for free. There's been times we go, and I just talked to an agent this week in my office, where he went in, he did his presentation, they talked price, and the people said, all right, we'll get back with you. And it turned out their uncle was an inactive real estate agent, so they used my agent. Actually, this was one of the gals in our office. They used my agent to get the information that their uncle didn't have access to because he wasn't an active member and you know, didn't know what was going on, but he would give him a discount. So they used my agent to get the job done, and then they hired him to do it. That's so frustrating. So I don't talk price until they've decided to hire me. So anyways, that is at the listing appointment. We get all of that done within an hour. Okay, and sometimes they've chosen to hire me. We sign the paperwork. Sometimes talking price, that'll take a little bit longer because now they're involved in it. You know, when we've got 9 comps and we can kind of say, all right, this is kind of where your home fits, and let's look at these numbers and pick one that fits for you guys. So anyways, that's how I roll with that. After the listing appointment, again, we want to kill as many birds as we can with one stone. So usually after we've signed all the paperwork, I'm like, all right, here's the homework for you. I'll leave them with the seller's disclosures. because I can pick those up later, and that'll take them an hour to fill out. I don't have time to do that night. So that night, by the way, at the listing appointment, signing the paperwork, I've got my exclusive right to sell page. That's initials on 2 pages and a signature on the 3rd. Maybe they sign an exclusive buyer-broker agreement as well. Either way, those are very fast, easy to do. If I've got my MLS data input form printed out with some basic information that I was able to gather, then I just fill out the price and have them sign everything else. Most of the pages are blank because I'll fill them in at the office. I made notes when I walked through the home, but I'm not going to take time in front of them to do all of that stuff. I can do that later. So I'll fill out the price, have them sign that form, we're ready to go. And of course, I'm going to send them copies of everything later on anyways. And then we've got the seller's disclosures, which I leave with them. So after the listing appointment, I'm going to say, all right, I'll be back in a couple of days. How does this time work for you? We'll have the home ready for photos. I'll get the sign in the yard, have an extra key made for me so I can get a key box put on the property. And I try to schedule all of those things so that I'm not running out and doing multiple trips back and forth. The reason why I do this, and a lot of you guys maybe hire somebody to put a sign in the yard and hire somebody for a photo for it. That's fine. If you want to hire it out, that's great. But for me, I want to limit it to 1 trip. And that's because the busier you get and the more clients you get, then you can't do 10 trips for everybody. Okay, you've got to start making better use of your time. I'm going to get the property and the MLS and the professional photo tour loaded up. I'm going to put follow-up dates in my contact management software, and I'll show you what we do with that here at the end, and then mark it in whatever ways we've agreed to. At this point, I need to turn in my equity packet. I've got email, fax, add dot loop. You know, however you do it, get that turned in within 3 days of signing your listing. So as soon as you get those seller's disclosures and whatnot, get that packet turned in. A lot of agents are holding that until closing, and we should have it submitted earlier than that. All right, so this is what happens after the listing appointment. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show you the tools right now. These are just some things that you can use to beef up your marketing, have something to talk to them about on a regular basis. First of all, there's your listing presentation that's ready for you on Elevate. We do have a 1-page presentation that I created, because sometimes, honestly, when I'm talking to people, I don't need to go through my full presentation. In fact, probably 80% of the time, I don't use my full presentation, even on my iPad. I've got my 1-page presentation, and the rest of that hour, I'm talking with them. They know that I care about them, and I'm learning more about them than they're just seeing paperwork flip through or a presentation, PowerPoint or something, okay? That's what builds the relationship. So a lot of times my presentation is 1 page, and if you go to the Elevate site, it's all there for you, all right? All right, some other advertising tools. If you want to put it in the newspaper, which I don't do because maybe if it's a first-time home buyer home, sometimes those people will read the paper, but most people are going online now. But if you do want to put stuff in the newspaper, a lot of times your broker can negotiate a discount with the local paper for that kind of thing. Craigslist. Delete your old listings and repost them each week. Typically Thursday mornings is best because you can, people do most of their searches on the weekends, and a lot of these systems are a last in, first out model. So if I posted my listings today, it shows up at the top of the list. If I posted my listing 3 months ago and never refreshed it, it's on page 12 and nobody ever sees it anymore. So delete your old listings, repost them each week so that you continually come up towards the top of people's search lists. KSL.com or your local online paper. Again, in Utah, that's huge. I don't know how it is in other states, but that's a big deal for us. And again, you'll want to refresh those on a regular basis. 2 weeks is the soonest KSL allows it, so every 2 weeks you have to refresh it. Professional tours. You've got spotlight tours. There's a couple different tours. I think on the Elevate site we've got some discounts with some of those, so you can look those up and see if there's some resources, or talk to your broker and see who they like to use. But there are some professional tours that have some extra tools that you can use. I use a tour company. They create a YouTube video for me. people kind of like that. Oh, you've got it on YouTube? Wow, that's neat. And so they go to YouTube, and it's cool. You know, it takes a still photo and it does a slow pan across it. By the way, I don't like bubble lenses. When you go out and take a photo, I want to have a real vision of what that space is like, because I have never had a buyer walk into a home and their first comment was, wow, this looks so much bigger on the pictures. I have never in 10 years had a buyer make an offer where that was their first impression. So yeah, if you use a bubble lens, it looks really cool on the computer, but when people come out and see the house in person and their first impression is, I've been lied and deceived and this is not at all what I was expecting, I've never had to make an offer on it. So up to you. I like a standard nice, and obviously a high quality photo, but not with crazy lenses that distort the image. You've got your website, your pro agent website. That's provided free by Equity. Make sure you understand it and use that. A lot of tools in there. Yahoo Classifieds, some free advertising. You've got newsletters. Hopefully you send out your newsletter every month. That's part of this training program, part of your homework. You can highlight your listings and your buyers in that. Yeah, so you just put a little note in there. Your client should be getting copies of your newsletters as well. So that's something that, it's just fun. It's another avenue where they see that you're reaching out to people. If you're going to do flyers, I go out and knock doors. I don't put flyers on properties, and I tell my clients they're just going to go to the neighbors anyways. It satisfies people's curiosity without them ever getting inside the home. And that, to me, unsells a home. I need to get people inside. So I'm going to satisfy the neighbor's curiosity, get out, knock doors. If you do an open house, hand deliver a flyer announcing it, but always knock the doors in the surrounding neighborhood. You've got your 24/7 call capture hotline, Mobility RE, or now we're moving towards, actually Pro Agent Websites provides us with an 800 number or whatever, local area code. So we're experimenting now with some of our branches to see how this works, and it looks like it's working really well. And that way we'll have everything be driven into that one lead management system, and it'll simplify things for us a little bit. Again, open houses, we've talked about how you can do those, hand deliver flyers. That makes a big impact, and a lot of agents that do that will get multiple listings in the same neighborhood. Then there's a service called List Hub. It's one that your broker can pay for, and it's free for you, and it's not very expensive. So if you don't know if you have this, talk to your broker about it. But it gives you, this is old, it says more than 500 real estate websites. It's actually over 900 sites now. So this syndicates with our MLS, and it pushes the listing information out to all of these sites. Zillow's on here, Trulia's on here. I'm not sure that it pushes to those anymore because they're in the middle of a class action lawsuit now with Move.com, which is Realtor.com, basically for mismanaging information. So I go in and physically post it to Zillow and Trulia, and because they are so terrible at mismanaging your information, I like to have direct control over it. So if I physically post it there, then it's what I say, and I can, you know, take the ad down or whatever when it's done. So they're not just pulling information and then using it forever without me knowing about it. Okay. Another thing you can do that I really like is a single property website URL. So basically I create a website for every listing. It's got its own URL address, and I like this, and I explain it to the client that my website's great and it draws a lot of people in, but it's like Christmas morning and little kids. They've got a whole stack of presents in front of them, and it doesn't matter how cool the one present is, they're looking at the next one and tearing into that next. So if they come to my site from my marketing on this home, they get distracted by the other homes out there, and pretty soon they're looking at the $4 million home up on top of the mountain, and they're daydreaming. I like to do a lot of my marketing with a single property website URL because it draws people into that home. They can fall in love with that home without getting distracted by all the other listings out there. One such program that provides this is called Listing Booster. You can check that out, partner up with a mortgage lender or something to keep the cost low, but the cost is pretty cheap already for it. It's not very expensive. It has a lot of great tools that we use. All right, so that's a list of some of your tools that you can use. And you can put all of this together, and this is the bulk of my one-page presentation, is we're going to do more marketing. Well, this is the script that I use for people. I say, look, my goal is simple. I want you to know and erase all doubt in your mind that there is nothing else that a realtor could have done for you. If there is anything that works, I'm doing it. I know a lot of agents. I know a lot of different tactics. Anything I've heard of that is a good idea that actually works, I'm doing it for you. The reason why I do this is because if your home does not sell, I want you to know clearly and without a doubt that it wasn't for lack of me trying, and there's only two reasons why it's not selling. Either the price isn't right or it's not in a good showing condition. And the good news about those two things is you have direct control over both of those. We can lower the price, we can clean the house up, you know, we could paint, carpet, whatever we need to do to get the home sold. But I never want you to sit and think, I wonder what my realtor's doing for me. So that leads me to my next line. And by the way, people like to hear that. They like to hear that they don't have to worry about that. Number one complaint against agents is that they don't communicate with their clients. You need to have a business plan for communicating. This isn't something that you just think, oh, have I called them this week? You need to have a plan. Every Friday, every Monday, whatever it is, you call them. So it should be a minimum of 1 to 2 contacts per week. Maybe Tuesday or Monday, you give them all the showing reports from feedback over the weekend. So you call them up and discuss the showings over the weekend and the feedback that came in. Every Friday, give them a report of all your marketing efforts throughout the week. All right, I want to take you now. This is what I wanted to, let's see, where are we going? Okay. I want to give you an example, a real-life example of how we do this. We just listed a home this past week. This is my deleted folder on my website. So I want to show you some of the things that we send to a client. So my assistant does this for me. And we have a system, and we do this on every one of our listings. And by the way, this system is applied through Realty Juggler. It's one of the reasons I like that program, is because we just click apply these 13 steps, and it's applied every time we take a listing. So first of all, we've got a 5-page guide, tips for preparing and showing your home. Okay, so that goes out to everybody as soon as we start listing with them. In an effort to maximize the exposure of your property, we pay extra for marketing all across the country. That's just a list of some of the better-known sites. So this is List Hub. So we've got a great exposure for your property. It goes out to over 900 different sites. So people get this list right here, and that's kind of cool. They like that. All right, let me okay, once we've got their listing uploaded on the MLS, we send that to them. Please take a moment to review the listing details. If you see anything that needs to be corrected or added, let me know and I'll make those changes right away. And we put a copy of their MLS report on there. All right? Let's see, where's the next one? Okay, we use a centralized showing service. So that's to schedule the showings. So we send them a sample of that and basically a little guide about how it works, some showing tips. So basically just educating them, but they see all of this stuff. This was all done within 2 or 3 days of taking the listing. So somebody asked, do I use centralized showing services? Yes, I do. This is my actual listing. So, all right, this is that personal website that we've created for them with their separate URL. So I'll click on that, and you'll notice that we had the link in here. So here's a copy of it. Click on the link, check it out. So they can come on here. They can do a virtual tour. It's a little bit slow right now, probably because of the webinar. So normally there's a picture of it there, but probably because I'm doing the webinar, it's slowing my bandwidth down. But anyways, they can print flyers out here. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they can get, and it's all focused right on their home, okay? Let's see, where were we? Yeah, the personal web link. Okay, when we post it on Facebook. As mentioned in my previous email, I've posted this link on the Property Listing on Equity's Facebook profile fan page, so my friends can check it out as well and like it and repost it. I highly recommend that you also click that link, like my page. I want more and more people to like my real estate page, become a fan of it as well, and share the link for your home on your own Facebook page. Here are some samples of what you can say together with that link. So I actually give them 10 different scripts they can use to share their own home on their own website. And that drives people to my Facebook page, which in turn is good for both them selling their home and me getting more listings. So, all right, so all of that stuff goes out within just a couple of days. Let's jump back to our PowerPoint here. So you want to have a business plan, something that is applied every time you take a listing. And then what I didn't show you here is every Friday we have a report that goes out and it says, dear client, here's a list of the marketing activities we've done this week for you. And we physically have posted it, to some of these sites, KSL, Zillow, a few of those, probably 8 to 15 websites each week that we manually post it to or have to delete the old listing and refresh it and repost it. So we send them a clickable link to all of those. We attach a report from a couple of the bigger companies, like Trulia will give us a report, the MLS gives us a report. So I attach 2 or 3 PDF reports that they can click on and see how much traffic their home is getting. And they get that every single Friday. So I tell my clients this is what you can expect. We're communicating with them all the time. And I would recommend giving them a call as well and discuss some of these things. How do you feel about the marketing efforts so far? Okay, I called one of my clients, actually this Joshua, I called him yesterday and said, what do you think about this? And he's actually a realtor in a different county. He says, man, your company has some amazing systems, because he actually used to work for Equity years ago. He says, your company has some amazing systems. It makes me feel guilty when I'm not doing these things. And I said, actually, these aren't my company's. These are mine. Really? You do all of this? Yeah. And it makes it sound cooler than it is, because, guys, I'll be honest with you, once you systemize it, it's not that hard. Okay? The email templates that we send out, I've got all of those saved to Realty Juggler. So when we're ready to send out a communication to a client, we copy and paste that template in there, attach the form, we're good to go. It takes just a couple of minutes, maybe not even a couple, maybe 1 minute to send those reports, because we've created a system and we do it consistently, so we get good at it. We get fast with it. And anytime I see something out there that I think, you know what, that's a cool idea, I add it to my system. Because it is a cool idea, and I want to do it. And I want to be able to tell my clients, if there's ever a great idea that I've seen, I'm doing it for you. So communicate with your clients. Have a system for that. Here's your homework assignment. Review your listing presentation. Make sure you can deliver it in 40 minutes or less. Get your files organized. Start using .loop. If you're old school and you want to use paper, use those 3-ring binders. But I would recommend educate yourself on .loop. Start using that. It can greatly simplify your life. It simplifies payroll's life quite a bit. And it can be very nice for your clients as well. Saves them a lot of trouble and hassle too. All right. Thank you for joining me. Again, you can revisit this later. If you go to YouTube and type in Elite Agent Training, all is one word, then you'll be able to access this. We do have a question that was just typed in. Let me go to that really quick. Okay, the PDF attachments seem great. I can see how that adds value. Could you forward a few samples, please? I actually can't, because there's enough people on training here that that's all I would be doing all day long. For PDF attachments, just, there's a ton of information out there. For example, that how to list tips for preparing and showing your home. There's a lot of resources. You could do a Google search. You could go to NAR's website. Some information out there. There are PDFs for that, and you can really have some great services. But when you sign on a new listing and they hear from you 8 times that week, hey, here's what we did today. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this. Holy cow, this guy's on top of it. And then every week after, and granted, they're not seeing that every single day, because once you get your marketing rolling, you don't have to repost everything. But every Friday, they get another report. So the PDF attachments that I do on my Friday reports, that's just from your MLS. Your MLS provides reports on the traffic for each home. Or if you're using a system like Trulia or whatever, websites, a lot of those provide reporting services as well. Okay? So, again, I don't want to be stubborn about emailing you samples of everything, because it's all right there at your fingertips. These resources are available for everybody. And it's just a question of looking for them. But the NAR website has some great tools as well. And then a lot of it is mostly just your own activities and things that you're doing. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I hope this has been helpful to you. And I hope this week you're able to take this seriously. You know, make a few changes to your presentations, clean them up. Let's see. Can we get the list of steps that you plug into Realty Juggler? Again, that's not something that's easy to share. So I'm trying to think how I could do that. That's something, maybe if you emailed me, brokerericlee@gmail.com, I can maybe forward you some of the lists of things that I do. By the way, and that's not necessarily comprehensive. It's what I'm at right now, but I'm always adding stuff to that. So, all righty, I think that's it for questions. So if you emailed me at brokerericlee@gmail.com, if you just type your email in here in the comments, I can't send it to you because I actually have to log into the GoToWebinar site, sort through all the comments, and then copy and paste emails. It's too much. If you email me, I can hit reply and help you out quite a bit easier. So I'll see if I can send you a list of some of the things that I do. If you shoot me an email, I'll see if I can find a way to get that to you. All right, guys, thank you again. Have a great week, and we will see you online next week.